At our focus this evening, a power-packed day one in Bishkek saw Prime Minister Narendra Modi hold two crucial and strategic bilateral meetings. The first was with President Xi Jinping, followed by one with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Both meetings saw substantive outcomes that gave a boost to ties between India and both the countries. And the warm personal chemistry that Prime Minister shares with President Xi and President Putin was also clear for all to see.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's first engagement in Bishkek. This bilateral meeting with President Xi Jinping, the first in 2019. Prime Minister Narendra Modi recalled the Wuhan Summit in April 2018 that gave a boost to strategic communications between the two nations.
वुहान में हमारी इन्फॉर्मल समिट के बाद हमारे संबंधों में एक नई गति और साहित्य देखने को मिला है। हमारे बीच स्ट्रेटेजिक कम्युनिकेशन में बहुत सुधार हुआ है। इससे एक दूसरे के हितों और चिंताओं के प्रति अधिक संवेदनशीलता भी दिखाई गई है। ये अपने आप में एक महत्वपूर्ण उपलब्धियां है, लेकिन हमें अपनी आकांक्षाओं को और अधिक बढ़ाना चाहिए। हमने अपने सहयोग को और अधिक गहन करना चाहिए और नए क्षेत्रों में भी सहयोग की दिशा में बढ़ना चाहिए।
On a personal note, PM Modi wished President Xi for his birthday that falls on the 15th of July. He also invited him to India for an informal summit taking forward the Wuhan spirit. Prime Minister expressed hope that this cooperation would grow further.
भारत में चुनाव नतीजे के बाद आपका मुझे संदेश मिला और आज दोबारा आपने मुझे बधाई दी। मैं इसके लिए आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ और जैसा आपने कहा, आपके साथ आने वाले दिनों में मिल करके बहुत सारे विषयों में हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। हम दोनों को एक प्रकार से समान रूप से कार्यकाल मिला है और अधिक काम करने का।
President Xi spoke of simplification of regulatory processes in trade on a mutually agreed upon list of products including basmati rice and pharma products. Prime Minister appreciated this move and hoped for an increase in India's exports of these products. Trade talks between the two nations at a high level will continue to resolve issues that persist. Next year will be the 70th year of diplomatic relations. Both leaders have called for a detailed plan to hold 70 events, 35 each by both countries, to be celebrated at this landmark moment in India-China ties. The Pakistan issue also came up during the discussions.
Prime Minister in fact said that we have a consistent position with respect to Pakistan. We discuss all issues through a bilateral mechanism and we look for peaceful settlement through negotiation. We are committed to this process. The Prime Minister recalled that he has made efforts in this regard and these efforts have been derailed. The Prime Minister did inform President Xi Jinping that Pakistan needs to create an atmosphere free of terrorism and that at this stage we did not see this as happening as yet and that therefore we expect Pakistan to take concrete action.
Next, it was the turn of a bilateral meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Prime Minister Narendra Modi thanked President Putin for his congratulatory message when the Lok Sabha poll results were announced.
आपने मुझे बधाई अंतिम चुनाव परिणाम पहले से ही दे दी थी और यही नहीं, आपने तो पिछले साल जब भारत आए थे तब भी मेरे चुनाव विजय की भविष्यवाणी भी कर दी थी। अमेठी में राइफल बनाने के प्रोजेक्ट को उसकी स्थापना के लिए आपका जो समर्थन मिला, इसके लिए मैं हृदय से आपका बहुत बहुत आभारी हूँ।
Prime Minister thanked Russian President Vladimir Putin for bestowing the Order of St. Andrew the Apostle. President Putin invited PM Modi for the Eastern Economic Forum meet as the chief guest. Energy cooperation, cooperation in the field of railways and a special focus on exploring the Arctic also emerged.
The Russian companies and the Indian consortium for the Vankor cluster, which is supposed to be one of the biggest oil and gas deposits that Russia has. A new area of focus that was identified by both leaders is Arctic region oil and gas. This is an area where we feel we should look and engage further.
Prime Minister Modi's visit to Kyrgyzstan to attend the SCO Summit kick-started with high-level bilateral meetings with China and Russia, two founder members. PM Modi's bilateral and strategic push clearly on display. Abhishek Jha and Arun Sharma in Bishkek for DD News.
Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend the SCO Summit tomorrow. This will be the second SCO Summit after its expansion in 2017, when India, along with Pakistan, had joined as members. This is also the first multilateral summit that PM Modi will be attending after the elections.
The much-awaited 19th SCO Summit is also to begin in Bishkek. Prime Minister Modi will be addressing the plenary session of the SCO Summit, where he will present his vision for regional cooperation and development via the SCO Forum.
SCO meeting itself will tend to focus on issues which particularly are specific to the organization, where Central Asia is at the heart of this organization. Multilateral economic engagement and the current global scenario, these are things which should also be uppermost in their minds.
Prime Minister will be discussing issues that concerns India and that concerns world as well. Issues of trade and terrorism are two main focus on this SCO Summit. Trade, especially after USA, China, Russia and India, they have been on the sidelines of this trade tariff wars. This issue is going to have a main focus in this SCO Summit. Issue of terrorism, which India has been convincing the world leaders that this region needs to act in cohesion to curb the issues of terrorism. This will also be one of the key agenda at this issue.
After Act East, Central Asia is one area where India looks up to as partner and collaborator. This was reflected in PM Modi's visit to the region in 2015. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold bilateral level talks with Kyrgyz President Jingping on 14th.
We have had very high level of exchanges since 2015, and this is the energy, this is the message of India that we seek to replicate, see, expand in this geography to strengthen our linkages, bilateral linkages between India and the Kyrgyz Republic.
Ties with this region are centuries old and dating back to the Silk Route. When Kyrgyz president was invited as a guest on the swearing-in ceremony of PM Modi, it was a clear indication that the impetus of government will be also on strengthening ties with Central Asian countries. India-Central Asia Dialogue was held in January 2019 in Samarkand, and several initiatives were planned within this framework. Kyrgyzstan is also a member of this dialogue.
We have a very robust and healthy agenda for India-Kyrgyz bilateral engagement, and both leaders will have an occasion to deliberate bilateral relationship in detail, comprehensively.
PM Modi will also jointly inaugurate the India-Kyrgyz Business Forum. Bilateral trade with Kyrgyzstan was about $60 million in 2017-18. There are almost 8,000 Indian students in Kyrgyz Republic.
सर अब तो बहुत हमें बहुत अच्छे से रिस्पेक्ट भी मिलता है. अब हमें लोग मतलब हमें एक अलग प्राउड फील होता है कि हम इंडियंस हैं जब से मोदी आए हैं.
आज के टाइम पे बहुत मतलब रिलेशंस अच्छी हो रही है इंडिया और किर्गिस्तान के बीच में, और मुझे इतना लगता है आगे चल के ये और भी अच्छा होगा. और जो भी नए स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ आएंगे या जो भी घूमने के लिए टूरिस्ट वगैरह जो भी आएंगे, उनको भी ये और ज़्यादा अच्छा लगेगा.
मोदी की ये सेकंड विजिट है यहाँ पे बिश्केक में. फर्स्ट टाइम और सेकंड विजिट में काफ़ी डिफरेंस आया है सर. फर्स्ट विजिट में जब हम यहाँ पे थे उस टाइम पे इतना कुछ फैसिलिटी थी नहीं इस यूनिवर्सिटी में, एंड उसके बाद सेकंड यूनियन विजिट के बाद में सर काफी फैसिलिटी हुई है.
With camera person Loknath, this is Abhishek Jha from Bishkek for SCO Summit.
Our correspondent Arun Sharma is now joining us live from Bishkek in the Kyrgyz Republic. Welcome, Arun. What would you say are the key takeaways, according to you, from the bilaterals that PM Modi had today with Xi Jinping as well as Russian President Vladimir Putin? Because with Xi Jinping, it was the first bilateral meeting since Masood Azhar was listed by the UN as a global terrorist, and the issue of Pakistan did come up. Some plain speak happened on that, and with Russia, we know that some new areas of cooperation have been agreed upon.
Well, that's right. Now, two important bilaterals, one with China and, of course, second with Russia. But yes, the Chinese bilateral, if you look at this point, we can look at these Chinese bilateral into two parts, two important parts. Number one, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi held discussions with Chinese President Xi Jinping, the issue of Pakistan did come up when the bilateral meeting took place. But importantly, India conveyed a strong message as well during its bilateral meeting with China, that terror and talks can't go together. Now India has done its bit. Now it's time for Pakistan to act, and it clearly mentioned that terror and talks can't go together. But importantly, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as he is known for his out-of-the-box ideas, apart from Pakistan, how to strengthen the India-China relationship, that was also at the core of this bilateral meeting. Now, we know this fact that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he suggested or he proposed this idea as India and China will be having, will be completing primarily the 70 years of diplomatic relations so next year. So how can we celebrate these 70 years of diplomatic relations? So 35 events will be held in India, and 35 events, very important events will be held in China. That means 70 big events in India and China to commemorate the India-China diplomatic ties primarily, which is 70 years have been completed, will be completed next year. So that was an out-of-the-box idea that was proposed by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, importantly, we know this fact that after Wuhan Summit, the India-China relationship has grown very rapidly, and we have seen that India and China relationship touching new highs after the Wuhan Summit. So after that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and when Chinese President Xi Jinping, they held their talks, the Chinese President also, we were very much willing to come and visit in India for another round of informal talks between India and China. So these were a couple of key takeaways. One, Pakistan got a clear message that terror and talks can't go together, and India has done its bit as far as maintaining this relationship is concerned. But now it's up to Pakistan that now to dismantle the terror havens that it has having on its soil, and then only the talks can resume further. So now the importantly, as far as India-China relationship is concerned, yes, we can expect another informal round of talks between India and China going forward in this year only, and how India and China can increase the economic ties as well. On these issues, the talks were held, and of course, you rightly mentioned, Munmun, that after the China was having a technical hold as far as Masood Azhar's listing as global terrorist is concerned. So after that, this was the first meeting, and the body language of both the leaders clearly mentioned and clearly indicated that the Indian-China relationship are all set to go at a higher space as well.
Right, Arun, what are the expectations from the 19th SCO Summit? India will attend it for the second time as a full member. What would you think will be the focus areas? We know that the Prime Minister gave the secure formula last time around when it happened in Qingdao. Also, will a lot of attention be on the India-Kyrgyzstan bilateral component of this visit?
Well, of course, now as far as SCO Summit is concerned, India looks at this entire SCO Summit as a platform to get an access to the Central Asian countries as well, be it Kyrgyzstan or be it Kazakhstan. These are the important countries which India is looking for to have a kind of connect, and India is also looking for increasing connectivity to the Central Asian countries, be it the INSTC, that means International North-South Trade Corridor, or be it the Chahabar Port. These are some of the important connectivity issues that India is going forward with. That point. So tomorrow, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be, addressing and intervening as far as the SCO Summit is concerned, we have seen that he is also in past also in last two SCO Summits we have seen he has come up with out-of-the-box ideas, and this time also what we are expecting that as far as the connectivity is concerned, these issues will definitely be there as far as how connectivity has seen a major progress as far as India and the Central Asian countries are concerned. And second important part, he'll also raise the issue, he's likely to raise the issue of extremism, radicalization and terrorism without naming primarily any country. But yes, these issues are surely to come up as far as this multilateral forum is concerned.
Right, thank you, Arun, for having joined us with that. And that brings us to In Focus tonight, which is Bishkek SCO Summit Spotlight on Security and Development. To talk about that, we have with us Ashok Sajjanar, former ambassador, and Neeraj Srivastava, former ambassador. So we have two former ambassadors with us in the studio to discuss the importance of the 19th SCO Summit. I'll begin with you, Ashok Sajjanar. Since the SCO was, until say 2 years back, considered at least a China-dominated organization with a focus on economy as well as security, what role do you see India playing in SCO? It's been 2 years since we became a full member. How do you see our role so far in this grouping, and our role in this grouping going forward from a regional perspective?
Two aspects that I'd like to make, 2 points that I'd like to emphasize here. Number one, as you said, before India joined, and of course Pakistan also became a member in 2017 along with India, it was seen as an organization dominated by China, but also to an extent by Russia. When India has joined, I think the credibility, the profile, the respectability and the international acceptability of this organization has increased considerably. As far as India is concerned, what is in it for India? The whole Asia, the whole region of Central Asia, the 5 countries, out of which only 4 are members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. This is a part of our extended neighborhood. We've had historical, cultural, civilizational links with this region. But unfortunately, after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, our connect with this region has been rather modest and less than what the potential is. So I think the opportunity that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization provides to us is that we are able to establish, connect and rapport with the leadership of all these countries. And when there are such meetings, then of course you are able to take the relationship forward. You would see that of course today the focus has been on Prime Minister's meeting with Xi Jinping and also Vladimir Putin. But tomorrow Prime Minister Modi will be meeting all the 4 leaders of the 4 Central Asian countries which are members. Also the President of Afghanistan, who also is sort of a permanent invitee to these meetings. So Afghanistan is also an important partner, strategic partner as far as India is concerned.
And there's a contact group on Afghanistan as well that acts under the SCO framework. But before we talk about Afghanistan and security related matters, Neil Srivastav, would like to bring you in on the geostrategic importance of India's role in the SCO. Do you see it playing a balancing role in the region as part of the SCO? What role do you see it play?
Well, India is already the 3rd largest economy in the world in terms of PPP. Now, when the 3rd largest economy comes into a forum, obviously it lends a great deal of weight and credibility to the particular organization. Secondly, I think in terms of bilateral cooperation, in terms of like technical cooperation, training programs, India has had a long-standing record of providing training to people from developing countries in a whole spectrum of areas. And I think when India comes into an organization like SCO, opportunities for training open up for the nationals of these countries. All these Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and these countries. Then you have the connectivity aspect, the north-south corridor, as well as the links through Chabahar in Iran, which will have a two-way impact. It is not correct to say that only India will have an impact on these countries. I think these countries also will be known better in a country like India. And so far, I am afraid, people in India don't know very much about these countries.
So you are saying that this is a forum that will help India connect more closely to the Central Asian states which are part of the SCO Summit?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Now, having said that, Ashok Sajjanhar, the Prime Minister had given last time around in Qingdao the formula of SECURE. S stood for security, E for economic development, C for connectivity, U for unity, R for respect for sovereignty and integrity of the countries, and E for environmental protection. So that's the mantra in a way that the Prime Minister had shared last time around. Do you expect India as well as other countries to build up on that?
Yes, I think it really captures all the basic fundamental elements of what regional organizations and bodies should be doing and taking the relationship forward. So whether it is trade, whether it is security, connectivity, environment, climate change, climate justice, I think across the board, that's the message that Prime Minister has given at the Qingdao Summit last year in China. And I think on this we will be talking about tomorrow when the Prime Minister delivers his address at the plenary, and even whatever is reflected in the final declaration. I'm sure all these elements will be reflected very, very adequately. And particularly, when you're talking about security, from security you come to the issue of dealing with terrorism. And these countries, particularly, those countries which are really bordering Afghanistan, because Taliban has been getting, much greater geographical space and political space as far as Afghanistan is concerned, and also the Islamic State, the Daesh, has also been coming and establishing itself in the eastern part. And there are 3 countries, but 2 of them are particularly vulnerable. Turkmenistan is also not really all that safe from this, but Uzbekistan and Tajikistan are particularly vulnerable. So that if there is the advent of Taliban in Afghanistan, that's going to have a very deleterious and damaging impact on these countries. And particularly another aspect is these countries are particularly vulnerable and susceptible to radicalization and to Wahhabism. For instance, these countries, all of them, if you put together all the 5 countries, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, all 5 countries, the total population is just about 62 to 65 million. But out of that very small population, you have more than 15,000 young men and women who have gone to Syria to sort of fight on the side of the Islamic State.
And that's why perhaps last time around in the summit we saw how a joint statement made an appeal to youngsters to desist from radicalization attempts. Neeraj Srivastava, coming to you on the security aspect of the SCO, there is a permanent structural mechanism called RATS, a regional anti-terrorist structure that is based in Tashkent. India and the various other member states have been cooperating under that mechanism, under which joint anti-terror exercises are held, besides intelligence sharing takes place. But Pakistan is also a member of the SCO. So how will it play out going forward? Because this involves sharing of intelligence information.
Well, in theory, Pakistan should be a willing participant in this program and should use this forum also, among other forums, to share intelligence with India and to stop terrorism or terrorist acts being perpetrated in India. But unfortunately, so far there is no signal, no concrete signal, and the Prime Minister mentioned this, I think, in his meeting with the Chinese President. There is so far no clear signal from Pakistan that it has changed its policy on the issue of terrorism. So while in name it will be there, it will be in the forum and it will be there, it really remains to be seen whether Pakistan uses this opportunity to stop terrorism and to make all efforts to ensure that terrorism is stopped in India and other places, in Afghanistan, for example.
So that's about the security and defense aspect in a way of the SCO Summit, but besides that there are other issues as well, and we've barely touched upon them. For instance, connectivity. Ashok Sajjanhar, we've seen how there is a lot of focus on the international north-south transport corridor that India places, but we also see that most of these member states of the SCO have signed up on the BRI or the OBOR. India has made its reservations clear. In the last summit also India said that we do not support BRI in any which way because we have sovereignty concerns with regard to CPEC. Where do you see this connectivity aspect going forward?
No, you are very right, Mahmood. We have, clearly articulated our concern as far as CPEC is concerned, because it passes through Gilgit-Baltistan, etc. So, in all the documentation, even when the former External Affairs Minister was in Bishkek last month, 21st, 22nd May, all the declarations that come out, they mention the names of all the other members of SCO, but they don't mention the name of India when they say that all of them support the Belt and Road Initiative. But I'm certain that when the Prime Minister delivers his plenary address tomorrow, he will definitely sort of speak about the efforts that India has made and the action that India has taken as far as promoting connectivity is concerned, because I don't think the fact that India is not participating in BRI, it is for entirely different reasons, that India is not in support of connectivity. India is very much in support of connectivity, and in that context he will definitely mention about the INSTC, the International North-South Transport Corridor. He'll mention about the action that India has taken as far as Chabahar is concerned, how within a short span of time of about 18 months from May 2016 till December 2017, we were able to expand the capacity of the Chabahar seaport from 2.5 million tons to 8.5 million tons, and how India has put aside $500 million to construct a railway line from Zahedan to Zaranj on the Iran-Afghanistan border, and how we are in conversation with Uzbekistan to connect a railway line from Termes to Herat. So these are all connectivity projects which we are trying to sort of make to reach out to Central Asia. Also, the Ashgabat agreement is also a step in the same direction. So the fact Prime Minister is definitely, in my view, going to underline that India is very much for connectivity, and it is sort of investing heavily, not only financially but also politically and strategically in connecting this region with India.
Absolutely. So connectivity, energy, security and defense and security, economic development could be the focus areas in the 19th SCO Summit that takes place in Bishkek, the capital of the Kyrgyz Republic, tomorrow. Thank you so much, Neeraj Srivastava and Ashok Sajjanhar, for having joined us on Newsnight tonight.
Thank you.